Get ready. Change is coming. Game sales will crash. Insider warning. Oh no, what's happening with the market? I think we are reaching a little bit of a breaking point when it comes to game prices and stuff. I mean, even in WoW, yes, they haven't raised the sub price, but now the price of an expansion, I mean, shit, I remember I bought Burning Crusade. Wasn't it like $49.99 back then or something? Now this shit's costing you even more just for the regular version. Now you're paying $60 and $70. It's pretty damn crazy. I mean, we saw a mount for fucking $90 not too long ago. So, yes, the prices are skyrocketing, and unfortunately, just like the rest of inflation, salaries are not increasing at the same rate. So, could the games industry see a crash? Let's see what Bellular has to say.
Okay, so this is fun. I've got a question for my American friends. How does
Okay.
a $1,000 PS5 Pro sound? Or maybe even a $400 Switch? And I guess if you're Nintendo, you're going to be a little bit more spooked about the Switch too. Now, those
Okay, here's the thing. A $1,000 PlayStation, like, to be honest, with the price of graphics cards now, that's not that crazy anymore. Now, if you had said this before when I got my, like, 3080, I remember I got my 3080 for $600. That was great, right? That was a really good value. I felt like I was getting a lot out of it. I'm obviously I'm shitting on what a console can give me in terms of quality. And I built this entire PC. I would say this whole PC costed me $2,000. I built this back COVID. When the fuck did I build this? 2022, maybe 2022, 2023. Yeah, I've had this PC for like 3 years now. 3 years or four, actually 4 years. Shit, I built this PC like 4 years ago. But since then, now the graphics card alone is going to probably cost you $1,000, right? So now if you're looking at that price exchange, okay, getting a console, a pro console for $1,000 is not that bad, because now if you want to build a PC, it's probably going to cost you $2,000 to $3,000 just to build a decent one. It's pretty damn crazy. Now tariffs will solve everything. Yeah. I mean, this isn't that crazy anymore, honestly. A pro console version based on graphics cards prices, it's not that bad.
Now, those are not numbers that I have pulled out of some nether region, at least one on me. No, those are from the worst case predictions of the American...
Basically, you used to be able to build an entire PC for $1,000. Now just the graphics card's going to cost you that much.
Consumer Technology Association. We like games, we would like to buy games, and that's kind of spooky. And you know what's real funny? George Lucas, once again, is right. How wrong we were when we eye-rolled at the Phantom Menace's trade negotiations. Just this time, right? It's not corporate greed, it's not price hikes to cover failing products. No, this is the potential
George Lucas is a prophet. Let's just say that.
Impact of the trade war on gaming. Now, we did see a little bit of that last time we went through this fun period.
Real quick, I'll get off on a quick tangent. When you watch Star Wars as a kid, you think it's about laser swords and badass, using the Force shit. When you watch Star Wars as an adult, you realize it is completely about politics and corruption in the most epic and realistic way. Watching Star Wars as an adult is a fucking experience, because you realize, like, holy shit, this is real life. This is literally applies directly to how things are going right now. Yeah, duh, it's all true, yeah.
It's a little more spicy now, and once we actually get into the details, that's where things are different to last time, because beyond the obvious price increases to, say, GPUs or consoles, there's a hidden cost, and that hidden cost is the rapid decline of the physical games market. That's a decline that the big publishers, well, the big console people absolutely want to happen, but for a lot of us, those discs represent ownership, they represent freedom. And this will be bad for those discs. Now, it's not all doom. I'll be able to share how some companies have at least taken steps to try and avoid the worst impacts on your wallet. But that's in the here and now. And big picture, a lot of troubling trends are actually set to accelerate. Now, because you're watching this, I know you want to actually know how the world works, and what we can do is break you free from doom scrolling with just using a few minutes of Brilliant every day. They're today's sponsor, they're awesome, and they're not just another learning platform, they are hands-on problem solving that does not feel like studying. Have you ever wondered, say, how Airbnb owners decide where to buy properties, right? Well, Brilliant has got you analyzing real data basically to try and find the best neighborhoods, while also teaching you how data visualization works. So no matter what you think about that topic, actually knowing how it works really helps you navigate the world. And that's just one example. From maths to data science to computer science, Brilliant teaches you the frameworks that actually stick. It's not about memorization. It's not about theory without context. It is practical knowledge that works. And the education system that I went through basically sucked at all of this stuff. It gave learning a bad rap, and that is why I love Brilliant's mission. Their
Very nice.
site is great, but I've got to say their app is absolutely killer.
Are we watching Sam watch ads, basically?
You'll have fun. You'll learn cool stuff. And if you visit brilliant.org/bellytheir news or click the link down below, you'll get 30 days for free and 20% off an annual premium subscription.
There it is.
So big thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring the video. Let's go.
Use the man's
so the big
code.
picture is the USA, China, Canada, and Mexico are all locked in a standoff over implementing trade tariffs. And this is a damn volatile situation. Like literally since we first wrote up this script, there have been more tariffs. It really is fun. Now, the core principle, right?
Look, guys, tariffs are going to reach a breaking point eventually. Eventually, it's going to get stupid because you're going to have reciprocal tariffs on top of reciprocal tariffs, and shit's just going to become stupidly unaffordable. And then the countries will come together and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we should kind of, redo this shit and just agree on a set price. That's what most likely will happen. Some people think it's going to get what's it called? It's going to get nothing achieved. Look, Trump's policies, they're not all great, I'll be honest. There's a lot of stupid shit going on and some not so stupid shit. No, I don't think any single president has had unlimited W's or unlimited L's. It just goes back and forth. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Tariffs, I don't know how they're going to work out in the end. I'm kind of worried about job losses and everything else going on because of it, but we'll see how it all plays out. Anyway, back to the gaming content.
Is a tax that is charged on imports from an affected country. So imagine a GPU that is manufactured in China. In order to import that from China to the United States, the company doing the importing will have to pay an extra 20% tariff, right?
I came here to escape that shit. Well, unfortunately, it's going to affect us in video gaming. That's the reason why I'm fucking mentioning it. I'm not going beyond that, though.
Seen a lot of confusion over
We're not going to go down that.
That's the company buying it into the USA that pays the tariff, not the company in China who manufactured the GPU, right? So big picture, the point here is to make foreign-made goods more expensive for you to purchase in your local region because whoever is buying those goods in to sell to you has got to pay a 20% tariff, for example. The whole point is that's more expensive so that you will buy local, which in this case would mean you're buying America-made computer hardware, consoles, and physical games. But the problem is...
that's where it comes to the games industry, right? So you're going to buy American-made products instead of foreign-made products. The problem is most American-made products are made in foreign countries. That's the problem, right? So even if it's an American brand, say like an NVIDIA, well, their graphics card is assembled like in Taiwan or something, or this piece comes from Mexico, and this. So the problem is these things are still made overseas. A lot of parts are still made overseas. So then you get tariffed on an American product. Then you get the background. Oh, well, then they'll just start making it domestically. Will they? I don't know. It's all about they're going to price gouge the customer at the end of the day too. So at the end of the day, when it comes just keeping the politics out of it, how's it going to affect us in video games? Things are going to get a little bit more expensive for the time being, which sucks for everybody because our salaries are not going to increase because tariffs happen, that's for sure.
Those aren't really a thing. And this stuff's not all a theory. We've actually seen the impact of this already. The first impact was felt on GPUs. So the RTX 50 cards, right, that whole series, they went up in price because of these tariffs. The retailer Newegg basically confirmed as much in a tweet. Tweets that they've now deleted, which is a bit weird. And they later told Tom's Hardware that the increases were, quote, due to a number of factors that are unfortunately out of our control. Which, to me, does read tariffs. But there are other things. I mean, the GPU market is pretty damn volatile and chaotic. NVIDIA didn't ship enough cards anyway, a lot of accusations of paper launches, so this whole fluctuation in GPU prices kind of passed under the radar, because basically, we're all kind of pissed at NVIDIA. Now, even if GPUs were previously exempt from tariffs until now, no one is really surprised by expensive GPUs in the current market. So GPUs, expensive, not really a surprise.
No.
But the worst impact on your wallet could very much be yet to come. So here's the deal. Manufacturers were allegedly stockpiling newly produced GPUs before the new year, right? With anything that was already in the US exempt from these tariffs because it had already been imported. It was in a US warehouse. And that means that anything newly produced and then imported would be subject to the tariffs. And that would increase the consumer prices even.
Oh, shit. Are they holding on to the stuff they made pre-tariffs so they can sell it at an upcharge and claim that it's because of the tariffs once they kick in? Oh, fuck, that is corporate corruption at its finest. If that's what he's about to say, that is completely scuffed.
even further. So that kind of sucks. But for gaming especially, it also sucks, right? And not just for PC players. So that group that I mentioned, the Consumer
double
Trade
dip on profit,
Association,
essentially.
they estimated these tariffs could cost US consumers $7 billion more for consoles. Just quite a few dollars.
Yeah.
Now, the impact here, right? It's more than just your wallet. It is going to go across the industry, almost every aspect of it. Right now, okay? There is no evidence to suggest that digital products are going to be impacted by these tariffs. And that's because there are various trade agreements that are in place to protect digital goods. Now, that does depend on everyone honoring those agreements. Maybe they won't, but let's assume they will. Let's assume digital will be fine, because we got to talk about what we know would not be fine. And that's physical games. Before doing this story and one previously, I had no idea about this. So, do you know where the majority of American game discs come from? The answer is Mexico. So, that's basically where they are manufactured. And that means that if the Mexican tariffs continue, publisher costs for making physical games will increase. Now, there is some good news here, right? The estimates are suggesting that this would be just under $1 per disc. Now, that's millions of dollars across millions of discs. It's not huge, but it's also not the whole story. And this is where I'm going to cut to an analyst, Matt Piscatella. He's been in the analyst biz for like 20 plus years, bit of a legend, works for Circana, and he predicts one of two outcomes from this, right? His first prediction: publishers can increase the cost of physical games and also of digital games to ensure price parity. That would be them passing the cost onto your wallet, but then of course making it, fair, and increasing the price of the digital games to match. Of course, those digital games not being impacted by the...
Of course. Surprise. Corporations using using the tariffs or using something in a way to milk more money out of you. So what he's saying essentially is the digital product is not supposed to be affected by the tariff, but the corporation is going to pretend like it is, basically, and raise the price of the digital product because the price of the hard disk is going to go up because of the tariff. Jesus. Oh, man, it's like, how fucking far does the wormhole go down? That's the truth. Like, this shit always happens. And guess who gets fucked at the end of the day? You and me and everyone else who's the average everyday customer. That's who's going to get fucked. And guess who's not going to get fucked? All the high stakes investors in the top 1%. These are actually going to be the ones who profit from this shit.
The tariffs. So that would be a sneaky business if they did choose to do it. The other thing they could do, though, is also not really good, because it's just choosing not to produce physical discs at all. Now, they could sell the latter as a consumer good, basically saying, look, we need price parity between them. We're not going to do these physical things anymore. We're going to protect prices for the 60% of the market who are playing digital games. They could probably write up a press release selling that as a good thing. Now, even if the tariffs keep being delayed...
people willingly vote for that. People don't necessarily willingly vote for tariff corruption practices. People vote, based on whatever benefits them, economy, all that shit. It's the corporations that play the fucking roundabout game where they use things that are supposed to be beneficial to the people to just benefit themselves. That's what fucking happens. Even if the government sometimes has good intentions, say like putting a reduction on cost on EVs. Okay, that's great. Who's going to get that reduction on cost? Well, it's going to be the corporation at the end of the day, because they're going to look at that, calculate it into their price calculation, and then eat that reduction themselves, right? They're going to get the reduction at the end of the day. That's what's going to happen. Because it's crazy, right? You had like the previous administration, and I'm talking about vehicles because I live in Detroit, and that's what the fucking industry I live around. But when EVs were getting a price reduction from the government, you got like $6,000 back from buying an EV. Well, guess what? All the EVs were priced with that shit built in. They were building it in. The corporations were building it in because they were like, hey, we can benefit by getting an extra $6,000 out of people. And then they'll think they're getting a deal because they're getting a reduction of $6,000 on the back end. Right? And then guess what happened? When the next president comes in and says no more reductions for the $6,000, guess what all the corporations went ahead and did? Didn't reduce the price. They just kept the $6,000 that they had added on top of the price built in. So you're getting fucked. You're getting fucked. Who's getting fucked? The customer. Who is benefiting from the rebate in the first place? The corporation. It's like this with everything. People didn't vote for that. They didn't vote for that. But at the end of the day, the corporations are going to scheme and do what they want to do to make the most profit possible. And they are incentivized to do so because they have a fiduciary duty to benefit the shareholders. It's a legal right to fuck you over.
Right? Because we don't know if this will ultimately end up coming to pass.
Not to mention fuck over their employees as well.
What we do know for sure, though, is that there's a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty is bad for business. Uncertainty can also be an excuse. There's a lot of companies doing layoffs and various things.
You're seeing price reductions in EVs only because they're not selling now. Not because the corporations are like, oh, we want to benefit the people and reduce the price. It's because they're sitting in lots. They're not selling. That's why you're seeing price reductions.
Based on these tariffs, even though
if they could keep it at the price they have it at, they'd keep it.
Coming, and it will often seem like, well, the uncertainty of tariffs is just an excuse to do layoffs that some companies plan to do anyway. As for this, though, why would you commission several million discs for a game releasing in 3 months if you've got no idea how much they'll end up costing in the end? But of course, it's not just that. It's also the consoles that play those discs. And you know it is serious when Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft all decide to band together as friends. Now, that's what they did in 2019, whenever these tariffs were proposed, right? They basically banded together and they warned that a 25% price increase would mean that a games console would be, quote, out of reach for holiday spending, that consumers would have to spend $840 million more on their Christmas consoles.
That's crazy.
And because they did that in 2019, they got themselves an exception. In 2025, they have not got an exception. And of course, there's a big problem if you're Nintendo and you've got a Switch 2 coming. I mean, yeah, it would suck for Xbox and PlayStation, but, you know, if Nintendo got disproportionately impacted, I'm sure they wouldn't be that sad.
Right.
Because, of course, their follow-ups, right, the next generation, that's, well, still going to be a few years. And being real with you, it is the span of the next few years that actually matters. I'm pretty sure you've noticed there's a little bit of a, you know, recalibration of the whole game board, right, in terms of the world politics, multipolarity, all
But again, just like my EVs example, say that the tariffs on the Nintendo Switch raise the price to by like, I don't know, just throw a number out there, $50 more. So now the Switch costs $50 more than it was supposed to cost to the customers, right? But say Switch 2 sales are pretty damn good, and then the next administration comes in and says, you know what, no more tariffs. Or Trump himself in a year or two says, hey, the tariffs work, guess what? We're dropping the percentage rate on tariffs. Guess what Nintendo's going to do? They're not going to take the $50 and say, oh, now guess what? The Switch is $50 cheaper. If the sales were fine, they're just going to leave the $50 bump built in. And then guess what happens then? PlayStation and Xbox release their next generation, and they're like, well, hey, Nintendo was able to charge a little bit more and still get sales happen. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to charge a little bit more and still let sales happen. Yeah, pretty crazy, right? Yeah, and it works across the industry. It affects the games industry, and I don't like to talk about politics, but to act like it's not going to affect us on the back end, it is. It is. That's why you gotta break this down a little bit and to understand how it's going to affect you. It is. All these price raises during COVID because of lack of products. Guess what happened when we had products again? The prices never went down. Crazy, right? All these companies saw record profits. The prices never went down. And it's never going to happen. So buckle up, boys. We're going to get fucked sideways.
Those fun things that are totally out of the scope of this channel. But suffice to say, shit is changing. And now these businesses are trying to work out how they basically survive and how to not price themselves out of the market. And they've been doing that for the last 5 years because they have seen this on the horizon. All three have moved some of their production outside of China. But even with
there is nothing you can do about it. You're right, Charbs. But at the end of the day, you could always speak with your wallet. So say the sales are not good on the Switch, yes, they'll be forced to basically reduce the price in like a we're putting it on sale kind of way, right? That's what, in the auto industry we call it putting money on the hood. Basically that means that you have to give incentives to sell the vehicle because you priced it too high. But as long as people are buying shit, it's going to stay where it is.
That the US is still an absolutely huge import market. This was pointed out by Daniel Ahmad of Partners that post-2019, US imports for Chinese products were reduced.
Example from WoW, $90 store mount. They made more money on the $90 store mount than they did on the expansion sales. So guess what's going to happen? We're going to get another $90 store mount. Now, would they try a $100 store mount one day? Who knows? Maybe. But sales are the thing that these companies are going to look at. So the only way that you can protest this shit is to not buy the shit. If you think it's too expensive, don't buy it. Unfortunately, most Americans, at least I can speak for Americans, live in credit card debt. So they're going to buy things even if they can't afford them. And that's just going to continue to perpetuate the problem.
In real shipping terms. But, right, console imports remained above 75% of the market. So that actually means that console imports are still pretty damn exposed to all of this risk. And it does make sense. Like, rebuilding a whole infrastructure to build all those consoles will take time and money. And that's a lot of work to build a parallel production line. That's going to take time. That's going to take money.
That's the problem. That's why this shit probably won't happen, where you're going to get, manufacturing moving back into America. It's just, are these things going to remain the way they are? These companies are going to look forward and they're going to be like, well, if this current administration puts in tariffs and the next one removes them, we're not going to invest all this money into moving manufacturing here. So it's a problem in that sense. So I don't know how it's all going to balance out.
Money that will be passed down to us. And of course, as the first to launch, Nintendo has likely made the biggest move here. David Gibson, another analyst, pointed out that after 2019, Nintendo started on a plan to basically do as much maneuvering as they could to move 50% of their production to other regions. A big example is, say, Vietnam, and it does seem like Vietnam is a real beneficiary of, well, companies just moving their manufacturing elsewhere.
Yeah.
The plan basically being they're still going to make a shitload of consoles in China, it's just they'll go to other places and the Vietnam consoles will go to America. But that will not mean there is no impact on your wallet, because the cost of moving your whole production, well, that will have to be recouped somewhere. Let's talk worst case scenarios, and to be honest with you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If Blizzard's got to move production here for something, or Microsoft, in fact, they're the big daddy, they're going to have to move something here, the customer's going to be the one who pays for it. That's probably what will happen.
There's some spooky shit to come, but it's actually on top of shit that's already real spooky. If you've watched all of our videos, you may know this, but the TLDR, right, is that when you actually adjust for inflation, premium console spending has been remarkably flat over the years, right? Last year, 2024, actually saw a sales decline. So the vibes have not been good, right? In basically the games industry. And
the games in general have not really kept up with inflation. I just talked about the price of a WoW expansion, but if you consider the fact that it was $49.99 for Burning Crusade back in 2008, was it when that came out? 2006, 2008? I can't remember the exact year. And you look at the price of an expansion today, what it was, $70 for the War Within. That's not kept up with inflation. So that's technically cheaper if you look at the value compared to inflation. It has not scaled at the same rate. The thing is, you can only, as I said, speaking with your wallet, you can only charge as much as you think people are gonna pay for. Blizzard can't come out and say, oh, because of inflation, your expansion's gonna cost $140. The fuck? People are just not gonna buy it. And they do market research, they test it. So at the end of the day, a game is considered to be, it's not a necessity. You don't need it like you need eggs or whatever else. It's not a food. So these non-necessity products, they can't scale at the same rate that necessity products like groceries can scale. So trust me, they would do it if they could. But yes, the one positive out of all this is the games industry in general has not scaled at the same rate. But to be fair, they're putting more in-game purchases too. So if you consider that, it has scaled exponentially. There's always that shit on the back end.
Could, change things a bit. So, if these tariffs continue, estimates are that console sales will drop by 57% at worst. Bear in mind, they were already kind of low in the last few years, and the Consumer Trade Association thinks that it will get worse. And yeah, you've got Sony basically keeping par with the PS4 generation, with the PS5 generation. I believe they may have slightly outpaced it, but Microsoft is behind. So it does seem that those console sales basically are on the downtrend anyway. Now, if you start slapping on 10, 20, 25%, right, of an upcharge, well, shit, those console sales are going to go down even more. And even if that stuff doesn't happen, the risk, the uncertainty will impact how much it costs to do things, right? And that means it will be passed down to you.
True.
A luxury good like a new console or a GPU is already something that you really think about before buying, that you've got to justify. And that is harder if you have 20% more cost. Yeah. You're not alone if that is your feeling. There's analysts, one example, Joost van Drieden, maybe that's his name. I tried. Anyway, he suggests that even with the best possible outcome, right? And, a new generation of console spiking interests, that console sales would be dropping again as we approach 2030.
They will.
I suppose that would be the GTA 6 sales bubble finally going away and us realizing, I don't know, gaming's dead.
Yeah.
So, in the worst case, this actually could be building up to be the weakest games market in a decade. What happens to the games industry as a whole?
Yeah, it's not just the games industry. car sales are down. Basically, all kinds of luxury goods sales are down. It's just going to be a worldwide thing. That's what's going to happen. And the games industry is going to feel it just like everybody else.
Worst case scenario. Well, physical games would slide further and further into obsolescence. If you care about preservation, that's not good. If you want to be an absolute bandit and borrow a game from your friend instead of downloading it again, or, buying it, rip that, obviously.
Yeah, well, this is where the games industry wants to go, and they're going to use this tariffs excuse. Blizzard, Activision, Microsoft, they're going to use the tariffs as an excuse to push this even faster, right? Because this is the direction they want to move in. They want to move to digital copies. They want to move to digital-only purchases. There's a reason why the $90 store mount was so profitable, more profitable than the expansion itself, is because it's a digital product. There's no physical copy of a store mount, and digital products are just more profitable. So what they'll do is they'll say, well, we need to go fully digital because of the tariffs. But at the end of the day, why they're going fully digital is because that was their plan all along. They can just kind of speed it up now. Just like all the layoffs you're seeing. You're going to see tons of layoffs from corporations across the country, and they're going to blame it on tariffs, when in fact they already had a plan to lay off all these people because of AI and everything that's being perpetuated out there. They already had a plan to reduce their workforce by 20%, 30%. Now that was like a 5-year plan. Now they're going to shrink it down to a 2-year plan, and they're going to blame it on tariffs and say, oh, that's the reason we're not the bad guy. It's not us. It's all fucking bullshit, guys. Open your eyes, take the pill, realize what's going on.
PCs and laptops would be far more expensive under these tariffs, so they would not escape fully. But the PC market actually might be uniquely more resilient because you can use your PC for like more than just like what a games console does. And that means if you are going to be spending a bunch of money doing that on your PC, well, that's probably where it's going to go over something like a console. Now, that is, of course, if audiences don't just switch to, phones and tablets, which would be sad. Or maybe settle in like streaming platforms like, GeForce Now and stuff. Kind of hard to say. Digital spending for PC would likely continue to grow, basically, but that doesn't necessarily mean more games. And if it's anything like the trends that have dominated the last few years, it'll basically go like this. Less full-priced premium game sales because people have got to be a bit more smart with their money in an economic pinch.
True.
Less next-generation games as developers basically stay with a far larger audience. They stick to what they're doing. You'll see more free-to-play games that have got a lower barrier to entry and more microtransactions to monetize that audience, and probably more microtransactions that are geared to be hyper-premium. Because the thing about money is, it all actually does have to go somewhere, right? And as wealth inequality, changes, well, why do you think that Riot are doing $250 skins for League of Legends? Because motherfuckers buy them because they've got a lot of money.
Yeah.
Money maybe you don't have. I'm now going to try to do something real dangerous.
Whale's gonna whale. And that's the thing. Yeah, you got the whales who are offsetting the fact that most people are running out of money. And a lot of these industries have realized that. You take even like a company like Disney, right? Like their parks don't see as many people going to the parks, but the people who can still afford to go to the parks are in fact whales, and whales are going to spend way more money than say 5 regular people are going to spend. So in fact, it's fine if they lose 4 customers to every 1 customer, because the 1 customer that stays is outspending what the 5 used to spend. And the games industry is the same way. But maybe Blizzard won't care if they have a reduction in subs, which they've seen, right? Since Wrath of the Lich King, you've seen a drop. We've never hit those numbers again for World of Warcraft. But does Blizzard care? No, because most of the people who are sticking around are spending more money than those, 12 million subs used to spend. Economics.
Making predictions. But I actually think I'm going somewhere with this, right? So when, say,
my wife
an animal is backed into a corner, it's going to fight.
I love going to
for
Disney
its
too.
life. If a mother thinks that the baby is under threat, it's going to just be so much more, powerful, aggressive, whatever. Well, whenever our games companies are a bit backed into a corner, they may be facing some systemic decline, how are they going to get more money? Well, I think I know, actually. I think we're going to see the growth of in-game advertising. We recently talked about it in a video that was really focused on Steam's policies.
It's going to happen.
If you watch that video, you'll know it wasn't just about Steam. It was about product placement, stuff that we see in, say, well, the Kojima production games as one example.
There's patents out there about this stuff. Do you guys remember seeing the New World version of this? Where it was like a digital advertisement that was like placed on the side of a building? If you guys haven't seen that yet, go look up advertising in New World. I think Towley has a video about it. It's pretty damn crazy. And what they basically did was you were walking through a village and there was like an advertisement on the side of a building that was placed just for you. So like your friend could be walking through the village and see a different advertisement on the side of the building that they were walking through. And the advertisement was like made in a way where it kind of looked like it was part of the world. So say it was like I don't know, a logo for Pepsi or something. It looked like it was painted on the side of the building and etched in a way that it fit with the time and the aesthetic of the game. But it was there. And that shit's going to happen. We will see more advertising in games, that's for sure.
And there's pressure, and this pressure does not necessarily have to come.
By the way, did you guys see the new advertising shit for Twitch? Twitch released new advertiser-friendly terms and stuff for streamers, and basically saying that if you don't have an advertiser-friendly stream, you're going to make less money on ads. So you better get friendly with these terms and shit like that. And they're doing that because they need more advertising. They want to pump out more advertising. A lot of advertisers left after all the controversial shit that happened with Asmin and everything else. So they want them to come back, so they release more stringent advertising terms. And they're going to filter streams and give advertising to streams that are, I guess, more advertiser-friendly.
From within the games companies. EA's shareholders were the ones asking Andrew Wilson about
just like
ads,
YouTube, yeah.
Because to a game publisher, free money's free money. You've got eyeballs. Why don't you show an ad? And
well, actually, I cuss on stream, Eco, and that was one of the terms was if you cuss regularly in your speech and stream, you're going to get less advertising revenue. I don't make shit on advertising on Twitch. I make like $4 every stream from ads. I don't get shit from it. But yeah, I guess I won't make shit because I continue to cuss, but that's just how I talk, so I'm going to keep fucking doing it. Oh well.
Monetize those eyeballs.
Less ad money.
And as we covered in the Steam video, there's loads of ways you can get around Steam's policy. And while lots of this could be driven by American companies dealing with American problems, well, if ads are coming, that'll come to you. That means that regardless of where you are, you will be paying for the trade war. If American spending decreases, those costs have got to be recouped somewhere else. It's all part of a global network that is under pressure, right? That money has got to come from somewhere. And if you want to see the way that pressure makes games leadership make really bad calls, I think you should watch this video next.
Yeah, get ready for your Caja-Cola to actually be Coca-Cola, boys. Ads are coming to WoW. They're going to, just like every other game, it's going to happen. And it'll be placed, cleverly, right? It'll be somebody that'll try to do it out so it's just not like a sudden ad pop up in the game. But they're going to find out ways to do it. AI is going to help them do it. And they're going to make more money because of it, even if their customers are reduced in scale and size. We going to see vendors selling Cokes. Yeah. It's not Caja-Cola anymore, boys. It's Coca-Cola. I'm going to link this one in the chat for you guys. Interesting one. Discrimination lawsuit? Yeah, ads are corny anyways. They sure are. You know what? I feel bad for, like, little kids. I mean, my son plays games a lot of times, like, on his tablet and shit. And, oh, my God. The amount of ads he has to deal with, or if he goes on like Roblox or something, it's insane. He gets pummeled with that shit. But the crazy thing is, at 7 years old, he's figured out how to X a lot of them out because they hide the X. He'll look for it. He'll figure out how to close it out. But it's insane. I feel so bad for the next generation. The amount of advertising they already see at 7 years old is insane. And it's only going to get worse. I don't know. Eventually, maybe the bubble will burst. But as of right now, that shit's going strong. I just buy the thing in-game that disables the ads. Oh, Keastrone, of course.
Use another death.
Hold on, Keastrone. You don't think that if we get ads in WoW, there isn't going to be like a $20 sub that disables ads? Of course that's going to happen. Of course, you're going to get an ad-free version of WoW for $20 a month instead of $15. That'll happen. Yeah, you will be able to disable ads by paying money to disable the ads. Yeah, of course, yeah.